Greetings and welcome to Africa Online Media Corporation. It is our usual Sunday afternoon program. We start from 4 o'clock and we end at 5:30, depending on the type of discussion we have. The more interesting it is, the longer we go. And it is unscripted. It is our show. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bagayoko. It's a pleasure to meet you again on this forum.
Thank you.
That said, STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but we will get there. For now, we just want to say, how are you doing this Sunday? It is the second Sunday of the month of July. We'll get there. We'll be talking about that. And of course, it's a pleasure to get to meet all of you, all of us who are here today. So let's get going. As I said earlier, STEM is our topic for the month of July, and we're starting off with the letter S in STEM. So STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and math education, and the experts in the field tell us that STEM is an interdisciplinary approach that helps students succeed in college and in their future careers. These experts also tell us that the focus of a STEM education is hands-on and problem-based learning. Well, we'll get to talk more about that. The expert is here, he's our chief host. Our CFO will be, our CEO will be formally introducing him, not really because we don't know him, but because we always start with somebody saying something about somebody. For this opener on the topic STEM, one of the experts in the field, we see him on the screen now, is going to be schooling us on some of the step-by-step approaches that we need to get to know more about STEM. But before we get there, suffice it to know that July is a noun. Yes, July is a noun. And I'm getting lost now. My papers are not in order. There's something went wrong. Let me see. So my papers, my scripts are not in sync with what I'm trying to do. So whatever it is, I'll just have to keep ad-libbing. If it comes back, it comes back. If not, then we will just have to do without it. Okay, here it goes. For this opener on this topic STEM, let us suffice it to say that, yes, it's moving now. We must tell our viewers, our listeners, that we are here to let you know more about STEM. But before we get there, as I said, July is the 7th month of the year. In the Northern Hemisphere, July is usually considered the second month of summer. It is actually the 7th month of the year in both the Julian and Gregorian calendars, and is the fourth of seven months to have 31 days as their length. Many other months have 30 days, except is it February, that has 28 days or 29 days, depending on whether it's a year, like every year, or a leap year. July was named in the Roman Senate in honor of Roman General Julius Caesar in about 44 BC. That was many centuries ago, it being the birth month of Julius Caesar. So July is on average the warmest month in most of the Northern Hemisphere, where it is the second month of summer, and the coldest month in much of the Southern Hemisphere, where it is the second month of winter. The second half of the year commences in July. So we are midway through 2023. In the Southern Hemisphere, July is the seasonal equivalent of January in the Northern Hemisphere. In Catholic tradition, forgive me, is the month of the most precious blood of Jesus Christ, that blood that was shed for humanity. I happen to be one of them, so I know more about it than other faiths. But may it please the House to know that today, July 2nd, is the 183rd day of the year in both the Gregorian and Julian calendars. That tells us that we are, as I already said, in the middle of 2023, because we have only 182 days left until the year is out of the way. July 2nd is, take note, special recreation for the Disabled Day celebrations that are held on the 2nd of July every year, by acknowledging the importance of recreational activities in the lives of individuals living with disabilities. And did you know that around 15% of the world's population live with some form of disability. Yes, so we need to have a special day to have recreation for them. It's everyone's right to live with respect and engage in some form of recreational activity. That is what some expert wrote. That can go a long way in accomplishing that goal. Special recreation can refer to loads of activities like sports, running, painting, and the performing arts. World Sports Journalist Day is also celebrated on July 2nd. And I had this because I have special interest on that. Also referred to as International Sports Journalist Day. The holiday, July 2nd, was created in 1994 by the International Sports Press Association to celebrate its 70th anniversary. Sports journalism developed during the 1800s, but was centered on elitist sports and was more focused on reporting the social context of sports events. In the 1920s, the professions began to take shape as newspapers dedicated more time and space to sports journalism. Many Cameroonians certainly still fondly remember Zachary Nko of blessed memory. They certainly remember Abel Benge. They certainly remember Daniel Anisette Noah, and they certainly remember Njomo Kevin, who is currently in the Northern Hemisphere at this time we're talking. May it please the House also to know that 2023 daily holidays that fall on July 2nd include Build a Scarecrow Day. Well, don't be scared. Just know that you build a scarecrow to chase away the monkeys from your corn farm. And it is also Freedom from Fear of Speaking Day. Yes, freedom from fear of speaking. For many in the so-called developing countries, freedom from fear of speaking is still a nightmare, as many still live with sad memories because they are still experiencing a lot of fear, and they hardly ever speak up because they know the consequences of doing so. So it is something we have to remember and to celebrate: freedom from fear. Freedom from fear, the fear, if they speak up, there is abuse of power. Of course, if they speak against that, they will be taken in and imprisoned. If their rights are suppressed and they speak up, they are shouted down. In some countries, they send the military out with guns blazing, and of course, the consequences are many. So, freedom from fear, many people live as if they were in the Orwellian fictional community of 1984, where truth is a lie and lies are truth. Whatever it is, let us just take it as it is, as we see it. On now to our topic of the day, the S in the STEM acronym. The S stands for science, a nightmare to some learners. To many of us, I was one. I was not a science student, but experts like our guests today, whom we'll be meeting very shortly, told them science is not a scarecrow, so don't build that scarecrow to scare away science or to scare away STEM, science, mathematics, and all the rest, but rather science is the spice that helps us to understand our path around the world. In fact, embracing science, we are told, opens doors and eases the learning process. STEM education experts like our guest, as I said, tell us is an education that trains for creativity and the job market, an education that awakens learners and potential learners to the reality that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics offer to the 21st century world. It is something of a new generation. It is something that many of us in the olden days did not really embrace, but we are here today to emphasize and to shine the light on it. And so at this point, I will rest my case and turn over to the chair of Africa Online Media Corporation, Reverend Palm, to welcome us all into the show, because it is an unscripted show, and we want her to tell us more about who is here today, especially our guest, Dr. Bagayoko. Okay, thank you very much. I might not have gotten that right, but please forgive me.
You did.
Reverend Palm,
you did very well done.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I cannot get enough of your editorials, and I tell
yep, it's excellent.
Doctor, but these are things that he scribbles down last minute.
Yes.
And he is so amazing. And that's why
yes, indeed. I totally agree.
He's gonna keep doing this until he takes his last breath. There's no retirement.
Yeah, absolutely excellent.
I know you retired from journalism and from being a professor of journalism, but hey, this year we've been doing this for more than 7 years. We'll keep doing it.
Yes.
I want to apologize. I'm using my old laptop, and when I was trying to go to Facebook, it was trying to get me to log in, and it was taking too long. And we always start the program on time, so I'm recording the program. It's not streaming live on Facebook, but I'll upload it to Facebook right after the program. It will be uploaded on Facebook and YouTube. On behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I want to welcome all our viewers. Sister Ruth, you're welcome. Nielsen, you're welcome. Our co-anchor is not here today, Ambassador Lisa. Our special guest today is Dr. Diola Bagayoko, originally from Mali. I am so proud of this young, handsome, and intelligent man. You know, he is a powerhouse. He really is. And he has won 2 presidential awards for S.T.E.M, mentoring both from President Bill Clinton and President W. Bush. So you know it's not a political thing, you know, but besides all the awards he has won, being on our board of directors at Africa's Brain Bank and being in charge of our S.T.E.M and our S.T.E.M mentoring program, to me, it supersedes all those awards, because he deposited his brain in Africa's Brain Bank, and he summed it up better than even I, the visionary. He said Africa's Brain Bank is the next best thing to all people of African descent going back home. And he nailed it. He nailed it. I could not have, that statement is on our website. So Dr. Bagayoko, you are so loaded. I cannot really do you justice. Take a minute for those who are listening to you for the first time, or those who will be listening to you for the first time, to introduce yourself before. This show is unscripted, and I apologize if I sound funny. I'm actually having toothache, so I apologize. But take a minute and introduce yourself to those who are listening to you for the first time.
Well, thank you very much. The pleasure is mine again to be an invited guest here. My name is again Diola Bagayoko, originally from Mali, West Africa. And I did my undergraduate studies in Mali in physics and chemistry. After that, I came to the United States, where I did my master's degree in physics at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. And then came to Louisiana to do my doctorate degree in theoretical physics. And after that, of course, I started working at the university next door to Louisiana State University, where I did my PhD. That university is a historically Black college called Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Awesome. It is there that my late wife and I established what we call the Timbuktu Academy, which is devoted itself strictly to mentoring young students so that we not only succeed, but actually excel. And in that process, of course, we introduce them always to the one and only law of human performance, which demystifies learning once and for all, and that for everybody. Now, as a matter of fact, as any part of my introduction, always has to include some comment on that law of human performance, because many people think that so-and-so is bright, so-and-so is intelligent, so-and-so. Well, guess what? This law says that there is no known limit to the degree to which any one of us can attain excellence in any discipline. So for the law is clear. It says the question is not whether one has the intelligence or not. One does. The question is what one is exposed to, what one practices, and that over the days, over a month, over the years. And that's it. And the rest becomes history. So we have followed that law ourselves in our work, And that is why, as the Reverend said it a few minutes ago, we got excellent result to the point where we got the U.S. Presidential Award in 1996 and in 2002, and the Lifetime Mentoring Award from the American Association for the Advancement of Science in 2009, and the National Benjamin Banneker Legacy Award in 2007. So 2020, yeah, and in 2017, we got what is called as the Innovator Award from Bayer. Well, anyway, so right now I'm called Southern University System Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Physics. So I still continue to do research, mentor student, run sponsor project, but I no longer do regular teaching. So, well, I think that's enough, Reverend, isn't it, for my introduction. Now, as a member of the board of Africa's Brain Bank, we work with my colleagues to nail down our 12-strand systemic mentoring model, which will allow the Africa Brain Bank to do a marvelous job, not only at a high school level, but one of these days at a college level as well throughout the continent. That is another way of exporting more or less what we call this demystification of learning process and making math and science within the reach of everybody.
You know, Dr. Bagayoko, I wish I had met you when I was in high school. I've told this story on this program before. I left an all-girls high school and went to all-girls secondary school. I went to a predominantly predominantly boys high school.
Okay.
The girls were like 10% or less or number, and there were just three girls in what they call biochem physics. Biology, chemistry, physics, and math. And the first semester, I topped the class in physics, and the boys took it
very good.
No, they took it personal. They acted like I did something, I committed a crime. And they held a meeting.
Yes.
How can a girl beat us?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I was the best chemistry student. They didn't take it personal, but they took physics personal. You know,
yes.
So just to show you the challenges that girls face.
Correct.
And needless to say, after that first term call it term back home, first semester, I never taught the class again in physics because the guys made sure they studied together. There were just 3 of us girls, and then 2 of them ended up being dismissed. So I ended up being the only girl. I really didn't have anybody to study with. But I'm saying that I wish you were my mentor. Who knows? I would have had a career in physics. As a matter of fact, one of my classmates is a physicist. She's
very good.
Yes, she ended up teaching physics in high school for more than 18 years.
Terrific.
And that background was from our high school. So it is very important that this law of human performance, what you're doing, you cannot even put a price tag on what you do, the value of it. And by God's grace, we're going to have the funding that we need, and we are going to transform learning.
Yes.
We want to push STEM. As you very well know, our 4th annual summit and charity ball is coming up Labor Day weekend in LA. And our theme for this year is STEM, Africa's gateway to economic freedom and power. Without STEM, we are going to continue to be oppressed. We're going to continue to stay in poverty. So it is imperative that we, as people of African descent, invest in STEM mentoring and STEM education. So Dr. Bagayoko, Africa Online is our sister organization. On behalf of Africa Online, I'm the chairperson and CEO of Africa Online. I want to warmly welcome you to this broadcast. Thank you so much. You have things to do with family, but you made time to be here because you are such a dedicated servant leader, a proponent of STEM, and God will continue to strengthen you, and looks like it will be your portion. So now, as you know, this show is unscripted. I'm going to hand over to Nia Song to pose the first question, and Sister Ruth Presley was
Yes.
put up a beautiful background on STEM. Is muted, but I'm sure she'll have some questions for you.
Correct. Yes.
Dr. Bagayoko, my pleasure to be with you again. My first
pleasure
question
is
is
mine.
going to be two-pronged. It has to
Yes.
do with what is STEM all about and why today, why are we discussing STEM today? Why is it being emphasized worldwide these days? And then secondly, what is mentoring all about? Did our parents not mentor us enough for us to grow up as we grew up? So please start this show by telling us more about STEM and then more about mentoring.
Thank you very much for that pertinent question. Well, concerning STEM, is the S is for science, the T is for technology, and the E is for engineering, and the M is for mathematics. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So the question, why is it it is so important? Why is it that we are telling everybody this is crucial for society? Well, the answer to that, generally, you can get it by simply looking around, looking at the, if you are inside, the air conditioning, looking at the car, the airplanes, you name it, and the medication we get, the care we get, and so on, to understand that it is through STEMs that human civilization has evolved tremendously to this point. That when we have a telecommunication like this medium we are using right now, the internet and all that are product of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, every single bit of it. As a matter of fact, one time among the STEM discipline, as a matter of fact, let me note the cornerstone role played particularly by physics. As a matter of fact, that discipline is not, which is one of those that used to afraid people in high school. There's nothing to be afraid about it, because as I tell my colleague and high school student around the country here in the US, that the two simplest disciplines one can have to study in college. The first one is mathematics, the second one is physics. Then high school students look at me as if I just landed from another planet, because for them, those happen to be the most difficult. Well, guess what? The reason for may see it as them as the most difficult has to do not with what is mathematics or what physics is. No, it has to do with the fact that they are missing one key thing, which is in mathematics, topics are linked to each other from the beginning to the end, from one year to the next. The same in physics. What that means is that the secret to excelling, and not just succeeding, but excelling in mathematics and in physics is the following. Lesson 1, you learn it by hook or by crook before 2. Lesson 1 and 2, you learn them before 3. The more you do that, the more you are going to find out by the middle of the semester, you feel that you can almost teach yourself the rest of the courses. Why? Because of the linkage of a topic one to the other, you are mastering the process as you go along. Now, here is the problem, which is most students, many students, not most, but many students, the error they make is this. We have a lesson here they did not study, and we forget that the next lessons will be using the content of this lesson they didn't study. So as a result, they are totally lost. Oh, of course, in such a situation, the first reaction is, well, maybe I don't have the brain for this. Maybe I'm not that intelligent. Or maybe it had nothing to do with not having brain, nothing to do with not being intelligent. It has everything to do with the fact that you are missing a key piece which is tied to the rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I just said about mathematics and physics also applies to engineering, and it applies to technology as well. So STEM, therefore, the STEM discipline are discipline in which we can all excel, provided we understand that in these disciplines, topics are linked to each other, and we have to study lessons systematically as we come. Once we do that, it becomes really, really easy. Now, the second question was mentoring. Aha. And particularly, they had a sub-question. Why a mentoring, again, beyond the one we get from our parents? Well, guess what? Let me answer that part first. Our parents do their best, literally, to give us social skills, human skills, and how to teach us the culture, because culture is more or less is like a roadmap for evolving in a given society. So, but the thing is this: when it comes to learning subject matters in schools, well, our parents cannot be experts in everything. I mean, depending on their discipline, even if they have a PhD in physics or education or a medical degree and so forth, you are going to find out that our parents are going to have limitations due to the fact that they are specialized in one area, but they cannot be specialized in everything. Okay? So, therefore, what that means is that we have to understand that in college, it is necessary, and I mean, not just useful, but necessary, to have students mentored by a network of individuals to ensure that as we move from grade to grade, they are getting the appropriate advice, the appropriate counseling, the appropriate resources, the appropriate material in order to remain focused on the task at hand, which is learning a given subject matter. Now, as a matter of fact, the Africa Brain Bank has gone a bit further to codify this mentoring process so that anybody who reads that on that website can implement it at an individual level or a university level or a high school level. Well, in that codified version, we have one item which deals with financial literacy or financial support, financial awareness, meaning that in many societies, where particularly if we are an open market society, capitalistic society, you are going to find out that more often than not, we need money to go to school. We need money to buy resources. We need money to enroll in college and so on. So that first item is to provide assistance to every student to work out their financial enigma in order to be able to focus on what? On studying while at school. Because when you come in school and then you are at school and then you are spending too much time working here and there in order to pay for school, then guess what? That takes time away from study. That takes time away from homework. Takes time away from interacting with others. So which means, therefore, that first item is a crucial one. But after that, there is a second item which has to do with scientific advisement in this mentoring system. That advisement is of crucial importance because sometimes students do not know that you cannot take this course before that one. Because again, for the reason that they are linked intimately. And if you don't know the content of this one, you cannot possibly master the content of this one. So the role of scientific advisement for course load and so forth at high school as well as college level, that is the importance of it. Now, not only that, we also have the third item, which is the tutoring component. And in this tutoring component, some people, when you talk tutoring, they think remediation. No. Our view of tutoring is this. If you know every subject, you can be a tutor. If there is something you don't know, whatever, you can be tutor in that item. So tutoring is for developing mastery learning, not for remediation at all. Of course, if somebody has deficiency in some area, it will take care of that too. But the aim is to excel, to master. The aim is not just to know something. So that tutoring component is a crucial one as well. Now, it is followed by communication skill development. Ladies and gentlemen, if I had a lot of time, I would have spent quite at least an hour on this item.
Okay.
At least.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
I'm so
our journalists
passionate about it.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he understands this. He understands that very well. Why? Because people forget that even science, technology, engineering, mathematics are done in a language.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Are
was
done
going
in a
to that.
language. And if you don't master that language, sometimes you have difficulties that have nothing to do with science or math or engineering, but are strictly linked to the fact that you have deficiencies in the language. That is why at the undergraduate level, particularly, and at the high school level, we developed this systemic mentoring procedure, which include the communication skill enhancement. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There is one key point in there we discovered, which was that if the language in which your high school is proceeding is in English, well, guess what? You have to, by the 9th, 10th grade, totally master the English grammar. And if it is in French, by the 9th, 10th grade, you have to totally master the French grammar, which is about 10 times more complicated than English grammar because of all the tenses in it. And I can't comment about it. The difference is huge. So the bottom line is, however, ladies and gentlemen, that I cannot emphasize enough the importance of mastering the language in which the learning is happening. I cannot. As I said, I'm even tempted to talk more about it, but I want to move on. However, let me underscore that I said I cannot emphasize this enough. Because you see, once you finish, as a matter of fact, and you are now looking for a job and so forth, guess what? In all areas where you may possibly have an employment, whether that is STEM or not or anything, you are going to find out that these communication skills are going to be the crucial one. In fact, research worldwide in science or in other disciplines is done by teams, by not individuals sitting in a corner somewhere. No. It's done by teams. And again, the role of communication. And even if you are not talking to an individual, guess what? You are reading X, Y, Z article written by others. When you can read and understand, there we go, you will have the roadblock. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to stay on this communication topic forever, but I want to make sure everybody understand that I said I need to spend at least 1 hour on it, which I don't have. So I'm going to move. I'm going to move forward.
You do.
To the fifth component of our mentoring, the fifth strand, which has to do with generic exposure of students to the notion of research. And the sixth one is the involvement of students in the actual implementation of research topics selected appropriately, of course. So that is the sixth one. And then following that, we have something called the immersion of the student in the professional culture. This concept, sometimes people don't understand it, but let me explain it in one way. It is through this process, for instance, that we associate the student to the group meeting associated with the research, to the preparation of conference material, to example presentations so that they can learn how you do that, to the networking with their peers and so forth, and to develop the notion of collaboration. So this immersion in professional culture is exceedingly important. It is crucial that we pay attention. For instance, we brought our undergraduate students to conferences all over the United States. And also we send them during the summer to do research at very many different sites in the United States. One summer we had 53 different sites where we had a student placed to do research. All the federal research lab, industrial lab, and university labs, and so on and so forth. So again, the point here is to see that the professional culture, it is a sophisticated and complicated thing, but it is within reach if one knows what to do. For instance, we knew, for instance, at our university, that we cannot have all the research area our students are interested in. So we place them in the summer at federal lab and other places, and we can do the same thing anywhere in Africa and on any other continent. Now, after that immersion in professional culture, we need to make one point, which has to do with sometimes students forget that there is such a thing as lifelong learning. We think that once you get a degree, whether that is MS, BS, or PhD, that you are done. Well, I got news for them. We, for our part of our mentoring, we say, development in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and other disciplines are always going on. Therefore, one has to learn and know that this is a lifelong learning enterprise. As a matter of fact, yours truly, these days, every day, I spend a minimum of 1 hour trying to figure out what that AI is, or artificial intelligence.
Oh, wow.
What they are doing, where they are going, and so on and so forth. Why? My goodness. Because in a matter of months or years, anybody who doesn't have a single clue of this thing may fall victim to a lot of different things. I'm telling you.
That's true.
So therefore, if nothing else, I'm initiating myself so that I don't become an innocent victim of something. So that's one example of the lifelong learning. It is not just for the mentee, it is for the mentors as well. All right? Now, after all of that, we have one thing that we call monitoring. You cannot say that you are serious about mentoring if you are not monitoring. Why? Because that's how we know what the students have been exposed to, what they have learned, what conference they attended, what presentations were made, and so forth. So therefore, we have a mentoring portfolio on each and every one of our mentees. Because that way, as a matter of fact, when 20 years later, some come asking us for a letter of recommendation, of course, those letters are easy to write, because nowadays, the mentoring portfolio is electronic. So we have all the information accumulated in one single spot. And there's no difficulty at writing letter. As a matter of fact, with no intention of bragging, I should say that half of the medical school to which we send letter of recommendation have written back to us, telling us that these recommendations are the best one we have ever gotten.
It's okay to brag.
I didn't tell them, but the
Yeah.
other one said, why? The reason is when we say so-and-so had good communication skill, we got 1, 2, 3 presentations were made, 1, 2, 3 documents were produced, report, and so on. When we say so-and-so have done research, we say, well, at this site, at Los Alamos, at this and that, we have the proof. It's not a matter of saying so-and-so is intelligent. No, we got the data, we got the record. That is the reason for it. No, the 10th strand of our systemic mentoring model of ABB, the 10th strand is simply guidance to the next level. If you are in high school, it's guidance to college. If you are in undergraduate, guidance to graduate school. If you are in graduate school, guidance to the job market. So this guidance component depends, of course, as I just said, on at the level at which the student is. But it is crucial to understand that it is of critically important one. Because again, this is another area where, for instance, in the US, even though undergraduate courses, studies are generally expensive and so forth, and one has to struggle to find money, but most people don't know, some, or at least some don't know, that when you come to graduate study in the United States, it is a university that pays. So all you have to do is really, when you are about to graduate, prepare your dossier, submit to a university, and tell them you need a graduate assistantship, either for teaching or for research, because that's how more than 60% of graduate studies are paid for throughout the United States, and at any level, PhD, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, for US citizens, we know that we can also apply and get a student loan, even though I don't recommend a loan to somebody if you really do not have to have it. But people do take those loans to go to medical school, they take those loans to go to law school, and with the expectation upon graduation, we will be able to do something about it. So after those 10 strands of the mentoring model of ABB, there is a strand on leadership development.
Yes.
That 11th strand on leadership development is simply, there's not even needed an explanation, because you see, sometimes we don't pay enough attention to leadership, but leadership is what runs the society we are in.
Yes.
Without leaders, the rest doesn't work, period. And we come to that realization, and therefore to say, aha, it is important that while we are mentoring them to excel in science and technology and so on, that we in humanity and language or whatever, but we also mentor them to the notion of leadership. All right. And again, remember my statement earlier about communication skill. Well, the number one rule, well, for me at least, the number one quality of good leader is communication skills.
Communication skills.
I mean, if you don't have that, don't come telling me you want to lead anybody. You might not be able to lead yourself, let alone somebody else, okay?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And that is what motivates people and make them do what you want them to do, because you conveyed a clear goal and objective in the interest of everybody. And so, well, yeah, I mean, call on me, I'll be there. Again, the critical role, even all of those we explain to in our mentoring process. So therefore, this 11th strength is crucially important. And what is the 12th strength? Well, the 12th strength is, call it the strand of virtue, meaning, yeah, the strand of virtue, meaning, after all, society is built on the fact that we have to pay attention to not only our own interests, but the interests of others and the interests of society. And therefore, this is a civic component of the mentoring process to make students take stock into the fact that there is a social organization, and which is built on the fact that we all have to make our contribution to the common good. Please put it that way. So, in a nutshell, therefore, I believe I have touched on what is STEM on the one hand, and what is mentoring from the point of view of ABB on the other hand.
You've done it, you nailed it, and you leave me with little to ask you again. So I go around the table and see, I saw Sister Ruth, but she vanished. Sister Ruth, what happened? Dr. Ogoji, you are welcome to the show. Unmute yourself and ask our guest any question or make a comment as to what STEM, what you know about STEM, what you know about mentoring. As a medical doctor, I believe you've been mentoring a lot of young people that come to you to ask, how do I do to begin to deliver babies? Dr. Ogoji, you're welcome.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the wonderful presentation so far. As we said, STEM for me is a life learning experience. It's a beautiful orientation of education to practical education. Those days we taught education to come and serve people, but STEM will teach you to become self-sufficient and solve human problem. That's what STEM is all about.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to a program the other day. When I was young, they say A for apple in Nigeria, and I'm B for beer. For goodness sake, that was useless education. I don't know what an apple is.
Yeah.
They come and tell me all those things and confuse me, so I come and be working for Apple, which I don't know what Apple is. So, that part of education whereby we reorientate what we learn in school, what is different to solve human problem. Anything you do, as long as it's solving a human problem, you are moving in the right direction. Any other thing apart from that, you are just wasting time. So mentoring is again is an art, especially given the new generation of children. When we have no other option than to succeed. We work hard and hard and hard. Our children nowadays want it the way. So you need to provide adequate mentoring for them to actually succeed. Otherwise, they would not
apply themselves. Yep.
In fact, you'll say, you know what? I don't have to learn how to write an essay. Just go to ChatGPT and it'll write the essay for you.
Yeah, that's the way we're living today.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
So for them, if you don't mentor them to teach them exactly what's going on and how life is, they will not take it, and they will end up
indeed
on social media, doing TikTok, and just wasting their life.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to you and say, how is it? What's it like being a doctor? You say, well, being a doctor is X, Y, and Z. This is what you do. This is how you do it. You have to do it the way I do it. You have a life. You can choose to work 10 days a week or 1 day a week.
Yep.
Yeah, those are things that they need to know, that so they cannot forge ahead to pursue the career of their dream. Hopefully, by the time their education, they can now rearrange themselves to what they want to do. And times have changed.
Yep.
During my father's time, a doctor and myself will be doing everything.
Yeah.
Work 24/7.
Yes.
I can choose to quit working now and do just telemedicine for 5 days a week.
That's true.
Yep.
So anybody can do anything as long if you apply the simple basis of STEM. Or just tell me the biggest cars, the electricity is simple physics. Positive, negative, give you light.
Yes.
Science is based to human body.
Yes.
You eat, you poop, you pee. These are things we learn. They have to add the empathy, that the empathy, the non-human part of that. No, you have to add the spiritual part of it to bring the science, the physical, and spiritual together to make a whole human being.
Correct.
A robot, which we have robots in our clinic now that does things like takes things to the lab and come back, go errands for us and come back. They can represent human beings, they can never solve human problem completely.
That's true. So, and they depend on human beings. You know, this is, and I really apologize. This should have been streamed, Dr. Godi. I'm using my old laptop, and as I was about to go live, it was asking me to log into Facebook, and it just delayed. But you know, even in pharmacy, we have robots that count pills. We have robots that deliver medications to nurses, but they cannot. They still depend on human beings. Human beings have to program them. You know, but Dr. Bagayoko, what you were saying about the 12 strands, you know, when I sit and I think about it, and I can almost get emotional. We are going to get that funding, and I'm praying that in LA we'll get enough money to launch that 12 that strand, because what the Africa's Brain Bank is offering is going to transform Africa and all people of African descent. This STEM is our gateway out of economic poverty and
no question,
economic freedom.
Yep.
You broke it down. You even differentiated the mentorship from the tutoring. You know, a lot of our people, even in the Black neighborhoods here in the US, a lot of the families are disintegrated. The father is either in jail or somewhere else, and the mother is working. There's really nobody at home to tutor or to mentor, and then even the system does not provide enough support, you know, economic support for these students to have after school care. I remember when I was in primary school, my dad paid for my brother and I to have tutoring. So after school, we were being tutored. And depending on the city we lived in, either the tutor came to the house and tutored us, or we stayed in the school and the tutor tutored us. I'm talking especially with the sciences, you know, and I really believe that it fortified my background.
Oh yes, for sure.
And we're talking about back then in the 70s, my dad paid for that. How many Black families in this country can afford those services? Some of them are even struggling to provide lunch or food for their children. Then in the continent, yes, social media has its own challenges, but there are some good aspects that students can get from social media, even from the internet. When we were growing up, we had to go to the library, books. I remember even in high school, my physics Newton, and then I had Abbott too. It was a big, big book. You know, now students can just go to the internet and do research and learn, but how many of them use that internet for educational purposes as opposed to socialization purposes. So the mentoring is so important. It is so crucial. I want to encourage everybody. Dr. Bagayoko is going to be speaking in Los Angeles. Buy your tickets. We're going to get there. Buy your tickets. What we are offering is life transforming. Dr. Bagayoko here, it's a rare gem. He's a gift to humankind. And let's not take him for granted because he has a dark skin. He is a rare gem. That's why both a Democratic and a Republican president found it fit to award him, plus all the other awards he's received. The thing is, our people, they said a prophet is never honored in his own town. You are such a blessing, not just to the brain bank, but to all our people. And I want to encourage everybody, to be in LA. And if you are out there, you can help us get the funding that we need for this STEM program. Please inbox us at info@africasbrainbank.org or info@africaonlinetv.org. Africa Online is our sister organization.
Yes.
Dr. Bagayoko, I want to ask this question.
Yes.
STEM is important. How can we, besides what we're already doing with the African High School Association, how can we empower the young people in the village, those who don't have access to the internet?
Well, the way I see it is use the farmer's mentality.
Farmer's mentality.
Yes. You are going to find out that when you go to farmers and say, oh, this new crop is just marvelous and this and that, so you should change to that. The farmer is not changing. No. But if you make a small plot somewhere there and there, which everybody sees, the farmer sees, works marvelously well, and you want the farmer to adopt that, guess what? The farmer, after seeing the actual thing working well, the farmer will adopt it.
Okay.
So, what should be our plan? Our plan is once we work with the selected high school that are in the African High School Association, after 1 year and 2 years, the result we get are the one we will then use to tell others, not only in the city, but in the countryside, as to what kind of result you get when you do what we are suggesting that you do. Okay. Because without that kind of approach, the countryside is not going to believe you.
That's true.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in our mentoring, when we implemented aspect of the mentoring program here at Southern, in Baton Rouge at Southern University, and this is exactly what we did. After 1, 2, 3 summer of excellent result with pre-college, because we have pre-college component. Pre-college students come for 6-week residential. People came from all over the country now, not just around the surrounding, all over the country, applying to get into the program. Based on what? The demonstrated result.
Dr. Bagayoko, what you're saying is so true. We have 6 minutes to the top of the hour, but I want to say this. I remember when I finished pharmacy school and I was working and I was trying to go to medical school, even though I have challenges with blood, there was a program at Rice, which I got in with scholarship, but the program did not really help me personally because, see, at that time, diversity was not really, people were not sensitized to diversity. A lot of the people who were in the program were white students, and they were already predisposed to some of the language and the materials that the program was offering that summer that I had not. I come in as a F1 student, was not exposed to it. All right. It is so important that we handle this program for our own people. Like one of our STEM team members, Dr. Bafo, donated 250 math lessons being taught by him. Yep. A child in Africa would relate more to an African man with an African accent breaking down the mathematics to him than a Caucasian man teaching the same language. So we have to incorporate this diversity issue, cultural issues, you know, economic status of our people, socioeconomic status of our people in this mentoring and the education. It is so important that we solve our own problem. Niasong, I don't know if you have any questions for Dr. Bagayoko or if Dr. Ogoji has anything before we go to the top of the hour.
And then we'll go to Dr. Ogoji.
Dr. Ogoji, you're muted. He's
muted, yes. Where did Sister Ruth go to?
She had a family emergency. So.
Oh, okay, all right.
So let me ask Dr. Ogoji a question. Dr. Ogoji, you were born and bred in Cameroon, and you after that you went to Nigeria. Were there anything that you know now, as far as STEM go, that you wish you had been predisposed to either in Cameroon or Nigeria, and things that you think could help our young people back home, based on your own experience?
Well, the only thing I would say is when growing up, I mean, I was science inclined from day one. I worked on guinea pigs in high school. Even as a high school kid, I remember a day when my brother had a burn injury, had a big blade on his leg. I took a razor and just tore it down and peeled it out of me as a kid.
Wow.
There's big stuff from fire injury. I took a blade, peeled the whole skin. It was bright red. I read about bush baby fur, and then I used honey and apply on it personally and put the fur on it. Within 3 or 4 days, it dries. We're thinking back. I mean, the bush baby fur was a myth. What really worked was the honey.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that the baby fur didn't give us some type of zoonotic disease that would kill them. But honey is antibiotics and it's a healing.
Correct.
Cream. I did that as a young boy, less than 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, when we come back, Dr. Ogoji, sorry if I cut into your talk. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
We still have 2 minutes. Dr.
Yes.
Ogoji, go ahead.
Of course, going backward, I would say 2 things. You mentioned when I was in medical school personally, the books we read in Africa then were British-oriented books. And you had this anatomy book, biochemistry, where you have to read and cram so many things.
Yeah.
You know, they make us study the Krebs cycle for whatever reason.
Yes, the Krebs cycle, yeah.
And those things are useless. When I came to the US, I found out that for me to pass my exam, I need to know in this Krebs cycle, which of the enzyme, what can go wrong in which of the enzyme to cause a human problem, and how do we solve it? So basically, all those 20 steps, I need to remember just 1 or 2 steps that can cause disease. So we have to change from teaching our children the whole science of everything that they need to know and teach them the science of what will benefit them, because the kids nowadays cannot be patient as I was.
Correct. Very good. Very well said.
Yes.
So what you're saying is so true. I remember where we had to learn how to draw the human ear, the human eye, you know, the heart. We had to do all that. You know, I mean, it's good to understand the anatomy, but they just taught us, they gave us, and some of the teachers, I just think they intentionally made life difficult for us students. They made life so difficult that, you know, if we could have just focused on, okay, there was no, what was the reason for me learning European history as a science student? And then they'll bring a map with a dot on the map. I'm supposed to write an essay of something that happened at that location. So I'm supposed to know the geography of Europe and then the battle that happened there and be able to produce a whole essay on that. How did that help me? I would have rather learned Cameroon history or African history than European history and world history. But we're at the top of the hour now. So I'm going to play the anthem. Dr. Bagayoko, please get a sip of water. You've been talking, get a sip of water. You guys give me
okay. I got water
right
here.
Back. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, let me share my screen.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yes.
Give me a minute. I'm just trying to make sure the volume is
Oh, Africa.
Good.
Oh no. Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africa Online Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey, Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does, to identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. If we believe prosperity for Africans, we believe medical facilitation for Africans, we believe. Stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is a cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africa Online Miracle yet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. We are writing our own story. The truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africans own Africa.
No more lies. No more lies. Africans own.
On Adapted Mind Reading, stories are designed to.
I'm trying to stop. Let me stop this. You know, we own full rights to that song. I wrote that song. One of our young talented skipper, Dr. Bagayoko. Skipper, come say hello to Dr. Bagayoko. He performed that song. Skipper, come here. He happens to be here. You know, and that the lyrics of that song is very powerful. Skipper, come on. Dr. Bagayoko is on. So next week, we are going to be discussing the M of STEM. We have a young man, a young mathematician out of LA. He's one of our volunteers. Francis is going to be, yeah, come say hello to Dr. Bagayoko. Dr. Bagayoko, I just remember that you are a fan of Skipper. So I say you should come. Skipper, come. Wait, sit down. Can they see you? Can you guys see him?
Hello.
Skipper, it's a pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Doctor. Okay, I see everybody now.
You see Dr. Bagayoko? You saw him in Atlanta.
Dr. Bagayoko, mes salutations.
Dr. Diola, you are muted. Anyway,
Oh, I see. I'm saying it's been a long time. How are you? And you are not hearing anything.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Very good. It's a pleasure meeting you again.
Oh, nice. It's a pleasure.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Yeah, Skipper composed that song for us. All right.
Song. I salute you.
Yes, indeed.
Nia song. Skipper is saying hello.
Hello, Skipper. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he happens to be here, and I realized Dr. Bagayoko likes him a lot. So
yes, indeed.
And he likes Dr. Bagayoko to this show some scripts that is our show. So nobody's gonna get fired for bringing Skipper on. Anyway,
yes,
yeah, next week we're gonna
very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Skipper will be in LA, even though he's coming in Sunday night. He got the dates mixed up, but he'll be in LA. You know, we're going to be talking about the mathematics next week. And of course, we want to, let me share my screen here. Hold on a second. About the Brain Bank event, you know. Let me share that screen. We're encouraging everybody to go to africasbrainbank.org and their ticket. You know, this is the ticket. We have 61 days to go, Dr. Bagayoko. Can you believe that? Oh my God, it's around the corner. You know, and the website will give you the information about the Brain Bank, about the summit, and the different tickets, the hotel link to book. The itinerary is there from Friday to Monday. Friday, we are opening up with a business to investor to business market. You know, we are also expecting some business people from around the world and investors, and hopefully we've invited the mayor and some of our team members. We are hoping to have them there. We are going to be honoring Mr. Berigodi. He will not be there physically, but we're going to be honoring him. The Motown's first A&R man, Brother Mickey Stevenson, will be there, and some of the Motown legends will be there. So we're going to be honoring them on Saturday. On Sunday morning, we have a billionaire breakfast brunch, you know, talking to people how to become a billionaire. And then Sunday evening, we are expecting someone to sponsor an event that evening. That's not been confirmed yet. And Monday, we're going to have an amazing Labor Day private event for the sponsors, the business delegates, and our speakers off-site at a $14 million resort. So we're going to have a wonderful time. Dr. Ogoji has attended all the events, and I know he'll be in LA. He's our chief medical advisor, very supportive, very dedicated. So, and then Africa Online, we are still looking for, if you're out there and you can write grants for water, we have realized that the fundraising efforts we do on this show every week for the borehole has not yielded, you know, so we need to sink a borehole in Kenya and Cameroon. Those are the next two stops, you know. So the one for Sierra Leone is already up and running. There's electricity in the maternity provided from the solar power, and 30,000 people are getting water, clean water, because of that one solar power borehole that we did. Can you imagine how many lives have been saved, both preemie, neonates, and even nursing mothers who used to die from infection? So there's still more to be done on the continent. We need you to go to africaonlinetv.org and make a donation. Our donations are tax deductible, you know, and if you want to sponsor S.T.E.M or support the event in LA, go to africasbrainbank.org and support. Niason.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Nous vous prions de nous aider à construire les adductions d'eau potable en Afrique, surtout dans les centres de santé développés dans les 55 pays d'Afrique. On a commencé au Sierra Leone. Ça fait déjà 3 ans, je crois. Ça, c'est une population de 30 000 personnes. Et puis, nous souhaitons commencer au Cameroun et au Kenya pour creuser des adductions d'eau potable dans les centres de santé développés. Nous demandons, nous vous prions plutôt de nous aider à donner quelque chose, un petit quelque chose. Ça dépend de vous. Donnez-nous quelque chose pour qu'on continue ce projet adduction d'eau de Borehole 55. Le nom, c'est Borehole 55, Operation Borehole 55, dans les 55 pays d'Afrique. Et puis, nous vous prions de nous soutenir avec un peu de sous. Merci beaucoup. Va sur notre site web www.africaonlinetv.org et faites votre contribution. Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Et puis, il y a le mois de septembre vient, il y a cette réunion, cette grande fête à Los Angeles, je crois, Africa's Brain Bank, notre concert. Ils organisent une grande fête, non pas seulement une fête, mais un événement qui est centré sur le S.T.E.M, comment encourager ce projet, surtout en Afrique. Merci beaucoup, and we will continue the show.
All right, thank you, Niason. I know your co-anchor is not here today, but you got me, Dr. Ogoji, and Dr. Bagayoko. Dr. Bagayoko, you are muted.
I mean, I'm simply said, très bien dit, very well said.
Yes. Merci beaucoup. All right, Niason, I need to step away briefly. So,
yes. So, Dr. Bagayoko, we were talking about getting S.T.E.M where it should be. It is a hands-on project. But the fact is, back in Africa, as Reverend Pam asked you earlier, how do we get it to Africa? Because the technology is not there. And even though technology is part of S.T.E.M, African countries do not have it. Governments are not disposed to introduce it in schools. So what do we do to get it to the villages and to the schools in the countries, in the different countries?
Well, I am actually thinking about that as we speak or whatever, because one of the reasons paying so much attention,
yeah,
one of the reasons I'm paying so much attention to the development in AI, that is one of the reasons, in the sense that as technologies evolve, what used to require a lot of hardware and a lot of gears very often can be leapfrogged over with new development. So
okay, let me
somebody had turned on the light. So therefore, I am hoping that with the development, as you know, that once we have the internet availability, which is going to be coming around the world, by the way, through some major philanthropy who want to use the satellite to make internet availability almost worldwide. It's not done yet, but it is in the making. So once that happens, well, the floodgate will be open because the telephone, which is within the reach of most people, and with the internet connection, well, and you will have what the basic infrastructure needed in order to deliver instruction of very high quality to any corner of the continent.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
So let me turn to Dr. Ogoji quickly for a brief remark by him. Then we'll come back to you. Dr. Ogoji.
Yep. Well, I mean,
making STEM available to kids in Africa. Yeah, Dr. Bagayoko mentions that there's going to be free internet soon, one day soon. Well, but what do you have to say to that?
Yeah.
I will go back to community involvement to develop their places. There's no part in the world right now, like I can speak for Nigeria, no matter how remote the place is in Nigeria, all you need is a power source, and the good news is that solar panels are available everywhere now. So if you can put a couple of solar panels in the schools and then connect it with battery to get power there, and then most people have telephone service, as you said. The MTN is all over the Africa. All you need to do is get an MTN Wi-Fi or modem and install in the school. And hopefully, if communities come together, there can be a public library for the community that can have steady power through the solar system and a Wi-Fi through the mobile data system.
Correct.
So that way kids can actually go on the web to get what they need to get, and hopefully it will be used for educational purposes only. So in places like that, I'm hoping that it will be turned on, allowed to the kids, if used for instructions to demonstrate some technology that they wanted to learn, and during time of academic pursuit. Of course, you can put filters in those internet to block things that are not academically related. So there's a way forward. I strongly believe that no matter how our leaders want to pretend about power supply, internet supply, they have no option than to fix it. Now in Nigeria, driver license you have to go scan to get driver license, and the government is putting generators in those offices to power the machines for the driver license. They have no choice. Give them 5-10 more years, they will fix it over Africa. So I'm hopeful.
Thank you very much for having that hope, Dr. Bagayoko. You mentioned the need for the mastery of language. French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, Arabic continue to be the dominant languages on the continent. But back in the villages, those languages are not well taught, or they are taught, but the mastery is not there. So how can we get the kids and the teachers and the schools and the government to really make sure that this thing becomes reality rather than just a passing whim?
Well, in fact, I think what we said about the regular way of teaching the languages, and particularly the emphasis for those in formal schooling, high school or college, to master the grammar of the applicable language as the first step to that language mastery. That being said, for the countryside, I actually have been thinking, that for those who are not going to come to the regular formal schooling process, what can be done is what I call let me try the name, alphabetization functional alphabetization. in the native language, in the local language. Guess what? When you do that, then these people can not only read, write in their native language, which is the very first step to be able to mount a business, to hold an account, to track expenses in an operation, and so on and so on. So in other words, it will be an economic empowerment second to none if we can do that. Because many who are already adult or young adult, we are not going to come back to the regular formal schooling process, but functional alphabetization can make a giant out of every single one of them. As a matter of fact, through that process, we can actually end up having millionaire and billionaire through the enterprises that will be running, whether that is agriculture, fishery, or whatever, and so on and so forth. So that is what I'm pushing these days. And in fact, I've been telling some people in Mali, instead of wasting the time of a regularly formal student who are in formal schooling with some so-called national languages, and so on and so forth, that what should be done is take the national language, so-called national language, out of the formal schooling and stick with whatever language you have, whether that's French or English or whatever. And once students are alphabetized in that, they are automatically alphabetized in their national language. So that does not need to go through the formal schooling. So what needs to happen, however, is to do this functional alphabetization in a very serious fashion in order to put a large portion of the population to work in a way that will really be tantamount to an economic and cultural revolution.
Thank you very much, Reverend Pam. Yeah, you've been away, but I hope you are following.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna upload it right after this. You know, we have just less than 7 minutes, and I think we'll need to do the round. But I don't know if this was addressed when I stepped away. Dr. Bagayoko, vocational training is something that we need a lot in Africa. Unfortunately, when we're growing up, we used to look down on those people that went to technical schools. But those are the people that are needed right now. People who can make things with their hands, people who can do things. So because to me, that's part of STEM. So what do you think we can do besides, you know, opening more of those schools? Is there a way where we can do some virtually?
Well, doing them virtually could be a bit challenging, even though that does not mean it is impossible. Okay. But it will be a bit challenging because of the importance of hands-on component in technical training in most of its rendition. Therefore,
let me ask you, let me rephrase it. What if we do a hybrid where they get the classes virtually and then we can create workshops? We can create workshops. That way, people that would not have had access to the didactic version can do it virtually, and then now they go to the workshop for practicals or apprenticeship.
That is a possibility. Yes, okay. That is exactly a possibility.
All right. Yeah, so I think we can do it around now.
All right, Dr. Ogoje, yeah, I was going to say to unmute so that I can start with you for your last word on STEM and mentoring on this second day of July.
Yeah, before I say my last word about the last question from Reverend Pam, vocational training is important. But the problem we have is monetary policy have spoiled things for us in the continent. They say there's no job in Africa, there's a lot of job in America. But trust me, most of us come here will end up being caregivers. Some of us caregivers, security guys, wash plates, wash dishes in the restaurant. Dishwashers, because they pay us $8 per hour. We change it, becomes a lot of money in our country. We'll do it. So those days when, I remember those, I mean, I can't remember, but I heard the story in the 80s and 70s, when Nigeria Airways lands in New York, all the shoppers will be happy because they're going to sell a lot of commodities to the foreigners coming to buy it in. When 1 naira was $1. If you train to be an electrician in Nigeria, they pay you as good as they pay you in America. A lot of people are doing it. But now an electrician will come to your house and do a work for you, and you pay him, whatever you pay him is not enough to survive. Because of our currency doesn't make sense. So the first thing we have to do is find a way to make our money make sense. So that whatever the minimum wage you pay people in Africa should be a livable wage, not just payment for salary's sake.
That's true.
That's a problem we have. The currency inequality has finished Africa. There's nothing to do about it.
That's why we need to have one currency for the entire
country. It is
country.
the single biggest drain that I know nowadays. Yeah, and it is a drain we can certainly do something about if we can, whatever.
Fintech.
Well, leadership
We can
again.
do with
Leadership
fintech.
again comes
It is leadership. Yep,
It is
absolutely.
leadership,
Leadership, and STEM. We can use fintech to solve that problem. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Allah, where do you land your plane before the gas gets finished?
So my last word, I'm very happy with today's presentation. I learned a lot. I keep on saying it. Anything we do in life, if you're not solving a human problem, stop wasting your time.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we will see you in LA because you have never missed the summit.
Reverend Pam, it's your turn.
Okay.
Well,
only 4 of us.
I know, what can I say? You know, Dr. Bagayoko, you are amazing. Dr. Ogoji, thank you so much for your faithfulness. You know, I am so excited about what we are doing. We have been doing it without funding, but we're hoping that LA will open a major door and we'll be able to, start, executing the stuff that we've already put together. Dr. Bagayoko, I am so honored to be working with you.
Pleasure was mine.
I want you to know that you are so amazing, and you do stuff beyond your area of expertise.
And the Honorable Nkemleke as Master of Ceremony is just fabulous.
Oh, you mean Shay?
I'm looking all the way forward to hearing him.
Oh, you mean Shay, the comedian?
No, it means me. It's talking about me.
Yes.
Oh, you. Oh, Niaso.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know if he'll come to LA, but he's here every Sunday. So yes, but thank you so much. All right, and I think it's Niaso, back to you.
Yeah, Dr. Bagayoko, we have to come to you for your last word on STEM and mentoring. You have enough time to say what you have in mind.
Well, all I can say that to what the Reverend said, which is that we are trying to do our best so that we get the resources needed to put this thing into the field. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
We have the plan. It's well laid out. We understand it. It has been proven. We now need to implement it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Reverend Pam, that being said, next week we're going to tackle mathematics, the M in STEM, and we'll continue the show. Thank you all very much for being with us today.
And happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. You took it away from me.
Thank you, 4th of July.
So please, let's have a good week.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you.